Initially, earlier today, I thought about talking talking about two things. First one is the great inventions throughout human civilizations, particularly very old inventions and discovery, very old technology such as fire, such as the invention of language, being able to speak, communicate, and the invention of writing. So all these things we largely have taken for granted. Besides that, I also thought about discussing some fables. Uh, the three fables I think a lot frequently are Emperor's New Clothes. This was a fable written by, I'm not too sure it was Anderson or Aesop. Yeah. So Emperor's New Clothes. Besides that, the famous or even infamous movie called The Matrix, the blue pill versus the red pill debate, and the third one is a less famous movie in 1998 called the Truman's Show. These three stories have a similarity where their protagonists realize that the beliefs of most other people around them happen to be erroneous. Not only that, most people uh, didn't know that they are wrong, and most people are living in an illusion. It's something related to philosophy, even sociology. So these are the two things I thought about talking earlier in the morning. However, later on, I feel less motivated to talk about them because I realized, okay, the first thing I wanted to talk about, the great invention, it is generally very politically correct. And when you want to talk about politically correct things, things that are widely accepted, widely recognized, things that have already become popular. The problem is those things tend to be kind of lame. Those things become banal. They become they became platitudes, and those things are things that you can easily Google. You can search via Google in through 2 seconds. You would get to know about the facts. So I feel that they tend to be less worthy of being discussed about. And secondly, just now the three fables I talk about, that second thing I wanted to discuss tend to be the opposite. Those things tend to be very speculative, uh, uh, somewhat politically incorrect, very. It always feels like they are very fictional, and you will often be dubbed as conspiracy theories, and not only that, it is very far from your everyday reality most people encounter. Although I am actually very fervent about that three fables, and in fact I believe them dearly. I think it has those three fables have very important connotations. By knowing them, it is very important for us to build a society in the next 30, 50 years. But when you talk about something speculative, you always have a kind of a spooky, repugnant feeling. The feeling that uh, other people are doubting you, um, um, uh, and you feel that you better keep that to yourself. Don't really talk about it because um, you don't want to waste time debating with people who are ignorant. You want to maybe you keep it to yourself, and eventually, when it really happens, you could tell them, see what I told you. So I feel that I have this conundrum. Things that are safe to be talked about are things that are quite mundane. You can easily search on the internet, and therefore it is not worth talking about. And whereas things that are worth worthy of being discussed about, very important things about speculative future, are things that most people would like to most people will disdain. Most people might even denigrate you, lambast you for saying nonsense, saying something so speculative. Better be practical and focus on your everyday life. Why do you talk about this nonsense? So things that are worthy of being discussed about, you tend to receive a lot of lampooning, and therefore it feels very difficult to discuss about them. And who would like to be lambasted out of no reason, right? So I have this conundrum. Both things I want to discuss, I have reasons not to talk about them. And I don't know how could I reconcile this conundrum, this paradox. Maybe it's my own problem. So what do I want to talk about? I I tend to, okay. So I'm actually not so motivated right now. Maybe I talk about when I don't feel very motivated. What do I do? Years ago, if you asked me this question 5 years ago, probably my answer would be kind of banal. I would say, or maybe I watch TED Talk, I call people, I read motivational books. But recently, probably over the last 3 years, I found something much more alluring. I normally seek solace when I am demotivated. I normally seek solace by confronting and embracing pessimism, extreme negativity, the so-called extreme negative thinking. Um, so I sometimes I joke and say that, oh, people like positive thinking. I myself, I like negative thinking. In fact, I found that negative thinking is very powerful. uh so there is another name for this kind of negative thinking. The name is stoicism, but I am generally quite wary about mentioning the word stoic because it has become a buzzword. Some people, it has become kind of trendy and popular today, stoic. There are lots of people shouting about stoicism, or I love this they normally comment and shout that I love it, I want to be stoic, I'm practicing stoic philosophy. Then they mention famous names like Seneca, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius. But the problem is, I am generally skeptical about people yelling about stoicism, because the idea of stoicism is to embrace really horrendous, disastrous catastrophe. The true practitioner of stoicism, like Seneca, for example, what he did is almost every single month he would pick a number of days and sleep on the floor instead of sleeping on a comfortable bed. He would eat a really atrocious food that has really atrocious taste. So he wanted to experience the worst. Of course, Marcus Aurelius, his famous book was called Meditation. So of course, all these Stoics, they frequently meditated. So people want to experience the worst thing. So generally, I'm very skeptical about people who shout out loud, saying that I am stoic, I'm practicing stoic. Because if you are truly practicing this kind of negative lifestyle, right, this kind of difficult lifestyle, you won't have time to really exclaim this sort of excitement, because it's really painful. You can try fasting, you can try meditating. It's not fun, absolutely. All right. I don't really talk about the word stoicism very frequently. It has been overused and misused as a buzzword, but I generally like negative thinking, pessimism. So one thing you would find very odd is that people generally are quite afraid of the word negative and pessimism. That when you appear like slightly melancholic, people would quickly question you. Oh, why are you so negative? Come on, let's be positive. Why you not? Let's be optimistic. Believe that tomorrow will be better. So people generally have this kind of attitude. I don't really know why. I suspect maybe you could explain via psychology, but I prefer to explain it via the most rudimentary biology, the anatomy. The anatomy is what our brain is predominantly being dictated by our limbic brain, and limbic brain is very simple and mindless. What it wants is to survive. So in order to really survive in savannah 1,000 years ago, you have to really have a lot of desire. You want more food, you want more material. So hence you want to have a lot of hope. You want to hope to find new food. You want to. You don't want to be demoralized if you were an ancient human. So that's the reason when you tell people to be negative, they easily freak out because when limbic brain loses hope, when a limbic brain loses hope, everything feels very nihilistic. You will probably die. Everything goes wrong. So people generally freak out when you tell them to be negative. The problem is one key problem is maybe I lament about the problem of positive thinking. The problem is when you think in a positive manner, it doesn't mean that the universe would conjure and really follow your wish. Of course, I know there is a nonsensical thing called the law of attraction. People who believe in this kind of thing really fail basic physics, basic science, or even mathematics. The world, the universe is made up of atoms. Particularly, you look at the planets; they orbit in a constant manner. So they don't give a shit to what you think. Generally, even if you believe that tomorrow I will reach, the universe doesn't conspire to follow your will, and therefore that's why it's quite useless. In philosophy, there's a school called realism. That means what? That means the reality is independent of what you think. So positive thinking is kind of a nonsense. But what is the power of negative thinking? Negative thinking is to reduce hope, reduce desire. So you have zero hope, you have zero desire. Can you imagine if you have zero goals, zero plans, zero hope to be better? Then it is impossible for you to fail. When you have no intention of anything in the future, whatever that happens, it is going to be you're going to accept them. No matter what, it doesn't look that bad, and in fact most of the time something looks very bad or very calamitous for you is because you have other expectation. You expect things to be in a to go in a manner, to progress in a manner A, but it happens to be B, and therefore you have the contrast. You feel unhappy. All right, so I don't have too much time to explain pessimism. I will stop here and continue tomorrow. Goodbye.